Hello!
Hi,
Welcome to Millennial Musings. I'm Gladys.
and I'm Isabella, and we are just two opinionated millennials who sometimes make dumb mistakes. What we want to do here is to share our experiences and to offer the advice we wish we had received.
Disclaimer, we are not therapists or life coaches, and we have no actual criteria to be giving advice whatsoever. What we could be is your new bestie or your new big sister. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee or tea, and get ready for some millennial musing.
In this podcast, we focus on different topics and try to answer 3 to 4 questions within those topics. And each question is one episode. So this week's episode actually is the start of a whole new theme. The new topic we're going to dive into for the next 3 episodes will be all about self-love and self-care. So what we will talk about in this week's episode is about setting healthy boundaries. Can you prioritize yourself without guilt? But Gladys, we haven't talked that much this week. So how are you? How are you doing? What's going on?
I am good. I am good. Well, I think it's safe to say that summer has finally arrived. I think for me, this is a bit much already. I'm kind of over it.
Me too.
But yeah, I'm okay. I'm actually going to Belgium in 2 days.
Ooh.
So yeah.
I don't know why I said, ooh, I know you're going to Belgium.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited to
That's
to
nice.
meet up with friends and family, and also I'm seeing Harry Styles and Pink actually in
What a
Belgium.
lineup. What a
I know. When are you going? Because we're both seeing Harry in our home countries, aren't we?
Yes, we are. I'm leaving on the 7th of July, and the concert's going to be on the 8th of July. I'm really excited.
Yes, it's going to be so good.
It is.
I'm stressing about my outfit though, but
Oh,
it will be fine.
you got your boa, right? You bought that recently.
I did get yes. Well, when this episode is gets posted, then the concert will have already happened, of course.
There might
But,
be some
yeah.
images of you in your boa and your Harry
Yes,
outfit.
if you want to see me in my boa, and hopefully my brother as well.
Oh yeah.
I bought him a boa, but to be continued. don't know how he'll feel about this, but yeah. Then you can have a look on my Instagram. How are you? How has your week been?
I'm good. I mean, it's only Tuesday, so the week hasn't been this long. It's been warm though, and I also love how we just lived in this country long enough now to just talk about the weather forever.
Oh my god, I know.
No, I've been good. I'm a little bit tired. Feel like I need just a weekend off from everything and just doing absolutely nothing. Yeah.
I know. Here in the UK, we had 3 long weekends in May,
In a row.
and now we won't have any anymore until August. Which, I mean, don't make me get used to this whole vibe to then take it away from me. I can't deal anymore. I can't do a 5-day work week.
I know. I really just want a 4-day work week. I think it just should be the rule everywhere where it's possible in the industry.
I know,
it's possible.
and honestly, my weekends have to be ideally would be 1 day for household chores,
Yes.
1 day for social interaction, 1 day to just chill and not do anything.
Oh my god, yes, I know. 2 days you just have to cram household chores and fun into 1 day, and then you have 1 day to maybe relax.
No,
Which
don't
actually,
know how people.
sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, go on.
No, I was just going to say, everything we're talking about is actually a nice little segue into the whole episode.
It actually is, yes.
Yeah.
And we didn't even plan it that way. We're naturals. Okay, well, so let's just get into it then, because I'm excited. I'm excited about this topic.
Yes.
So we have, God knows, we have sent many a voice note to each other on this topic. So boundaries. First of all, I would kind of like to define boundaries. Well, it's difficult to define them because it is one of the important things, I think, is that it's very different for everyone. But I did find an well official, semi-official definition on psychologytoday.com. And they define boundaries as the limits we set with other people which indicate what we find acceptable and unacceptable in their behavior towards us, which I actually think is good.
Yes,
I do
I
think that
agree.
kind of, yeah, encapsulates everything. So the first thing I definitely want to say is yes, boundaries are very different from person A to B. Everyone can have different boundaries, things that one person might consider crossing their boundaries, the other person might not even think about it. And then also, the main thing I think that we want to discuss in this episode as well, boundaries are actually a form of self care.
Yes, exactly. As you probably understood by now, is that Gladys and I are both really big advocates of self care. But there's one thing I'm kind of annoyed with, and that is that the meaning behind self care has mainly become an industry, something to make money with, right? Because most of the time, self care, especially for women, is connected to skincare products, candles, essential oils, bubble baths, and I mean, I do love all those things. Like, Gladys has been with me to Boots when I lost my mind and just bought everything I could find. I do have my Beauty Pie subscription and I do love a candle, but lighting a candle and using your new face mask is not really enough to just feel good within yourself in the long run.
No, no, exactly.
And I also think that there are quite a few misconceptions when it comes to self care. I feel like a lot of people have in their mind that it means that you have to spend a lot of money for it. For example, for the beauty products, that you have to, a lot of people also think that you have to earn your self care, like that you have to go through actual hardship before you are allowed to take some time off and just recharge and take care of yourself. And then the other thing is that some people just think self-care is an option, like it's optional, you don't have to do it. But I was thinking, well, let I have a lot of plants because, like we said, we are millennials and I love my houseplants. So let's say you have a houseplant, and if you take care, if you think taking care of that plant is optional and you just water it whenever it just feels like it and you're in the mood of it, or the plant looks already pretty dead, so you think it might need some water, that's not going to keep that plant alive for a long time. It will eventually die or at least suffer a lot from it. And I think this is just literally the same as taking care of yourself.
That's really good. Love that analogy. But yes, but that's very true. We do treat self-care like it's something we need to earn, right? Or like, oh, there's an hour every Wednesday that I have for myself where I take a bath and put on a mask and do my skincare routine and everything. And yes, of course, that can be self-care, that having that
Yeah.
moment for yourself, but also I think self care for me personally is a lot more about how we navigate life and relationships and how we set boundaries.
Yes, exactly. I do think setting boundaries is one of the, I mean, I don't think so. I know that setting boundaries is the most important part of self care to me, and I think to you as well.
Yes, very much. Sorry, I was on mute. um, so we have kind of divided boundaries into different aspects of life, I guess we can say. So
Yeah,
should we just get into it?
of course. Yeah.
Okay. So the first one that is very important to me and that I've definitely had to learn how to communicate this is me time. So I need alone time. I've mentioned this in previous episodes as well. I love being by myself. Being alone is how I recharge, and I think that's a misconception where I think people look at being an introvert versus being an extrovert in a way of like, oh, if you're an introvert, then you're just very quiet and you're very shy, and if you're an extrovert, then you're a very sociable person, and you know, you like being in groups and everything. But that's not really what that is. I think I think for me, the difference between being an introvert and an extrovert is it doesn't matter how much you like being around people. It doesn't matter how loud you are, how present you are. But if you recharge on your own, then I think you're an introvert. If how you recharge, how you get your energy is by being with people, being in groups, then I think you're probably more of an extrovert. So for me, for example, I don't mind being in big groups. I don't mind going out with people. I like it. And I think people would say I'm quite loud. I have quite a big personality. I'm very theatrical. Um, but that's not how I recharge. It does actually cost me energy. So then I do need to recharge by myself. And the thing is, what I've kind of struggled with, especially when I was younger as well, and when I didn't really have the words, I guess, to express that. Um, if you're an extrovert, I think sometimes for people it's difficult to understand this. It's difficult to understand that, for example, I have it a lot when I go on holiday, for example, when I'm on holiday with people for a couple of days, and sometimes I can just feel like, okay, I need to be by myself now for like half a day or something. I need to not see you. And it's nothing personal towards those people. But I think so if those people are not like that, and if their social battery never runs out, then I think it's difficult for them to understand this. So when I was younger, I wouldn't say anything, and I would just kind of keep that inside. But then what would happen is it would get to a point where I would feel very overstimulated, and then I would become overly sensitive, or I would lash out at those people who were around me. So now I definitely try to communicate that, but then still, I've had it where I try to tell people that, and then they kind of feel personally attacked. Or then they turn it into like, then if we spent half an hour together, then they're like, oh, are you sure you're okay with this? Like, do you want time by yourself? You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. It's something I still kind of need to learn how to communicate that, I think. But I know it's very important to me, and it's very important for my relationships with these people, because I can't let myself get to a point where I do get overstimulated, and then yeah, then a version of me will come out that nobody wants to see. So yeah, do you relate to that? Do you have that as well?
I very much relate to that. I also 100% am an introvert. I see myself as an introvert at least. I do need time by myself in my comfort zone to recharge. I think I'm even taking it a step further, because even if I'm by myself on holiday, it wouldn't do the same to me as if, I mean, probably the same for you, probably the same for most people, but I need to be at home. I need to be in my comfort zone to recharge. And also in a group of people, well, depends on the people, but I can enjoy it, I can have a good time, but the more people I am around, the more I need to, and the longer I need to be by myself. And I guess it also depends how well I know the people. Like if it's my best friends, I can stand it longer. Than with people, I have to, I don't know, keep the weird me inside in a way. But I definitely get the part of getting irritated or like more sensitive. At some point, I'm just overstimulated by not having by being around a lot of people, or just one person all the time, and I just get very easily irritated and a bit of a bitch, some would say.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. I get you. Not exactly. Yes, you are a bitch.
I mean, I'm not denying it.
um, but so, how would you say do you find it easy to communicate that, or to kind of to express that to people, to your partner, for example? Because I mean, you do share a home, so maybe sometimes you feel that way with
Yeah.
him as well.
Actually, I don't feel like we have any issues. We can easily be in the flat and not talk for like a couple of hours because he loves to play FIFA, which is a curse and a blessing, I would say, because if I just want to do my own thing, like work on the podcast at this point, or clean the flat, because yes, I like cleaning and cleaning calms me down, or just do stuff around the flat that is not in front of the TV. If he's playing FIFA and I do my own thing, then that's kind of a good way for me to recharge. And sometimes, I mean, if I have the TV, he usually entertains himself. So actually, we're handling it quite well with when we need to recharge, I would say. That's not really a problem. And we're quite okay with communicating that to each other without any issues. I think I would find it harder to talk to friends and be like, please, just let me be now. I feel like they would probably be more insulted. But then, yeah. I don't actually think I ever said it in the way you just mentioned, like when you're on a holiday. But then it automatically happens because we're all quite similar, that at some point there's just a bit of a downtime and everyone's just on their phone or listening to a podcast or reading.
Oh, that sounds heavenly.
sleeping.
That sounds so good. Those are the best holidays. Yeah, I've been on holidays with people where it was like 10 days of me and a couple of people in one room, and then day 5 or 6 happened, and I was like,
What do you mean in one room?
well, we shared a room with like 3 or 4 people, and then after a while I'd be like, oh my god. So I would come up with these activities that I didn't even want to do, but I was like, oh, I really want to go to this modern art museum just because I know that they hated it. And I was like, oh, then I can go by myself. And they were like, no, we're here together, we'll go with you. And I was like, do you not understand what I'm trying to say?
Read the room.
Yeah, but I think the thing about the friends, for me as well, also now living abroad, of course, that kind of means like when people come visit me, then of course they're here all the time, which is nice, and I love that, and I want to see them. And I sometimes don't respect my boundaries when it comes to that, because, and you know this, I've told you this, this has happened a couple of times where, someone will message me and be like, hey, can I come over this week? And that's kind of the only week that they can still come over, that summer or whatever. And then I say yes, because I want to see them, because otherwise I might not see them for another 6 months or whatever. So then I say yes. And then that happens with 4 or 5 friends, and then before I know it, I have a visit every week for like 2 months or something. And even looking at my calendar when it looks like this stresses me out. I can't even express to you how panicky I even get when I realize, oh, I don't have 1 weekend to myself in the next month or so. But then I also don't want to say no, because, we don't have that many options to see each other and visit each other. But then that's something I definitely need to learn still, is how to kind of find that balance and just be like, well, actually, I know that I already have a couple of visits planned that month, so it's a bit too much. But yeah, it's just, sometimes I know myself very well. I don't know why I then just convince myself that it will be fine, and then I get stressed anyway. So yeah.
Nah, I get that. It's the same with when I just go back to Austria and visit, well, people. We talked about this in the last episode as well. And then you just have to book every day out to make sure you see everyone. But I actually I meet someone one day, and then I would like to have 2 days for myself. And then I can see someone again.
My
But
God.
obviously that's not possible. And I'm not complaining. I love seeing everyone. It just then, once I get back to the UK, I just need to be at home.
Oh, I do know. I have that problem now. So I'm going to Belgium now, and I was talking to a friend a couple of days ago, and he was like, oh, so when can we meet? And I definitely want to meet him, and I'm meeting his boyfriend as well, which is very exciting. But I quickly realized that I basically have maybe two days maybe where I can still squeeze him in. And so then I was kind of telling him about my schedule, and he literally was like, I could never could not be me. And he was like, I would just lie and be like, oh no, actually I'm fully booked, and literally just be just chill with my parents or something. And I was like, yeah, I know. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But then when I get back, I don't want to see anyone. And what you said about the you and your boyfriend as well is, I mean, I think if you're living together, of course it's different, and also it's not, when you meet up with friends, of course it's that thing of like you're actively together and you're not always together. But when you live with someone, I guess it's a lot more normalized to need time. But even then, I kind of feel like I mean, me and I have it with my boyfriend now, and I mean, of course, we don't live together. It's been a couple months, but like I don't know, a couple weeks ago, we kind of did things together all weekend, and there. Oh, did this sound? No, that sounds bad. We went somewhere. We went somewhere during the weekend, and then he was like, "Oh, maybe we can go to the movies or something on Thursday or whatever it was," and that was the first time where it was kind of like, "No, I need to not see you." And he's kind of the same, so he understood. But I think, yeah, not everyone would get that. I think.
No, definitely not. I just feel like if you live together, at some point, like, this is gonna sound really cheesy, but sometimes when I want to recharge, I kind of want him to be there because he's kind of my comfort zone. He's part of my comfort zone as well. Like, just a little cuddle and some trash TV is sometimes the right medicine.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
how
he is
sappy!
sappy, but I am actually quite sappy. That's, yeah. Yeah.
Well, now you've made me sound really
No, I
bad.
didn't mean. I think it's different though if you live together or if you don't live together. Because when you don't live, like, your flat is your space. You've had your flat for a few years now. This is where you go. This is where your things are in the place you put them, and everything's just that way. Whereas because you don't live together, when he is at your place, he is at your place, and it's like then things shift and it takes time to get used to having someone in your space. I think I'm just, because we moved in during the quarantine time, I think we just, I mean, it just happened.
Yeah.
We were
Okay.
together a
You're
lot.
definitely used
Yeah.
to. Yes.
To a point where sometimes it was like, I'm like, I think the first time I actually went back to Austria to visit my family, it felt like I'm going with one limb less. Like, it felt like a limb is missing because we were so attached to each other because of the pandemic. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of get that because even now, I mean, he's here now. He's in the other room, and it kind of, we're just doing our own thing, and it kind of does calm me down in a weird way. And I never thought I would say I would say that, but I kind of like having him around as well. Even if we're just even if we're doing our own things, because then when I need attention, then I know
There's
that
someone.
he's there.
Oh. Well, now we've been Seppi on both ends, so maybe let's move on.
Okay, okay. Do you want to do the next one?
Yes. I'm sweating. Anyway, yeah. So
Girl, don't even. And I mean, obviously we can't turn a fan on
I know
because
the
it
noise.
will be too loud. But this is
Yeah,
intense.
in case
Let me tell you, this is intense.
it is intense. Oh, but anyway, one other area in life where I think it's really important to have boundaries is actually work and like your workplace in general. And with that, I mean, well, I want to make clear. Let's say you have a job from 9 to 5, right? Monday to Friday, you have those 8, 9 hours of work. Do your best, do what you have to do a good job. I'm not saying show up when you want and do what you want. Like, do what you have to do, give your best, and all that. But when I think of boundaries at the workplace, I mean, take your lunch breaks as they are in your contract, for example. Make sure that when you have a day that's really busy and you have to put some extra hours in, that you have a chance to even it out, right? Because let's say you would have to leave earlier because you have to go, I don't know, to the dentist. You probably would make sure you're gonna add those extra hours back to work, which is fine, and you probably should do that. But also, if you give them more hours of your day, then at some point, maybe a few days later when things have come down, make sure you maybe stop an hour earlier or have a long lunch break. Yeah. And then the other thing with work is, and that is very important to me, take your sick days. Like, if you, first of all, if you've thrown up all night and then decide to come into the office and then sit next to me the whole day, that is just stupid. Like, I'm sorry, but then you are just dumb. You literally.
The disrespect.
Disrespect, yes. You're not just gonna suffer and probably do a bad job because you're actually ill. You also make everyone around you ill. But anyway, I'm drifting off. No, take your sick days because, like I said, you probably won't be doing a great job because you're not feeling well and you have those sick days. They are most likely your legal right to take, so you should take advantage of them. There's no need to push yourself through these uncomfortable situations because if you do, you just end up resenting your job and you won't be doing a good job. The more you look after yourself and the more you actually just stick with what you're meant to be doing, or like even things out when it gets too much, at least in my case, the better I am because I don't mind going to work then. I enjoy doing my work. I enjoy being around the people. I enjoy being around the workplace because there's a proper life and work balance. Yeah, I guess that is my point on boundaries at the workplace. Do you have anything about this to say?
I do have something to add, yes. Well, yes, first about the sick days, definitely. And of course, you know, we're in the corporate world. It might be different for other people. And of course, if you're self-employed and you have a massive, I don't know, you know, one of my friends is a caterer. If you have a wedding to cater, you can't exactly be like, oh, I have a cold, I'm not coming in today. But yes, to like if it's possible and if you have that option, then yes, take that time. Also, we need to normalize people being off when they're off.
Oh my God, yes.
People being on holiday. I am so sick and tired of people going on holiday and then seeing them online every hour of the day, or then seeing them in conversations, or seeing them like, oh yeah, no, I did this really quickly. I did it. No, stop it. Stop it right now. Stop it. If I'm off, I'm off. Honestly. And yes, if there is something really, really urgent that maybe, or somebody messages me and it's a quick question and I can just answer it in 2 minutes, then I will most likely do that. Well, actually, that is if I check my messages. I most of the time, when I go on holiday, the second my out of office is activated, I forget I have a job. and maybe I shouldn't say that here because some co-workers might, but actually no, we have days off, we have time off, we deserve to take that time off.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, we need to stop normalizing this because then other people, if you set that example, other people or your team members or whatever, they will feel like they need to do the same thing, and that's not good, and that's not good for anyone's well-being.
Yeah.
Normalize people being off, and that means offline, and that means not working in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, I agree. 100%. 100%. You will not catch me on Slack or any other communication channel when I am off.
No, exactly. And yes, like you said, I feel exactly the same way. I don't mind. And also, I'm quite lucky. I mean, we work for the same employer, so I can say we're quite lucky that our employer is quite flexible. You know, like I know, I don't mind working late once in a while. I don't mind doing that because I know that I will get that flexibility back when I need it. So yes, but definitely respect your own time. Don't neglect your boundaries for a company that, or for an employer who, at the end of the day, let's be honest, I don't care how nice or, you know, great an employer is, at the end of the day, if you're not you know, the reality is, and everyone knows that, but we all pretend like we don't. The second you're not making them enough money anymore, they will drop you like a bad habit.
Oh, yes.
So let's just, and also nobody's irreplaceable. You know, there's so many people who I know who are like, oh, but yeah, they really can't, like, I don't want to do this to my colleagues. I don't want to go on holiday, or I don't want to be ill all week. And then they need to deal with this and everything. No, No,
Yeah.
stop feeling guilty about this. Do you no, that employer won't even like they won't care. They won't care if they realize that they can replace
Yeah.
you or if they can find an alternative that makes them more money. That's just how it is. So nobody's irreplaceable at work. So at the end of the day, it's just a job and it's not worth your mental health. And we'll get into this because we have had a job, both of us, where that was a challenge. But yeah, respect your own time. Okay, and maybe let's move on from this before I get fired. So, the I think last category that I have is on relationships in general. So that's dating, friends, and family. All I want to say about that is something that I have definitely learned over the past couple of years is there is nothing wrong with expecting people that you invest time, energy, love, whatever in to expect them to bring the same energy to the table, right? And that is also setting boundaries. For example, with dating, and it's interesting because I recently started dating someone, and then I had a couple of people come up to me and be like, "Oh, I really wish that I could, have this situation where just you both just know what's going on, and it's both just, you're both very clear on what your expectations are." And then they told me these stories of, yeah, every time I'm dating someone, I'm kind of we don't really talk about anything, and then I'm kind of scared to ask them because, well, let's be honest, it's mostly women with men. And then but it can be any gender. And then I'm scared to ask him like where we are or if they're seeing other people because then they might get scared or they might. And I just think, and we'll get into this, of course, because we'll one of the future themes will be dating, but there is nothing wrong, and this goes for friendships, relationships, whatever. There's nothing wrong with being clear about what you want from the beginning. And of course, you shouldn't be on the first date like, okay, so I want 3 children, and to get married within, no, that's not what I mean. But there's this idea that we can't ask questions or that we all need to pretend that we're fine with this whole like vagueness around dating. And if you are, and if you're the kind of person, because I know people, some of my best friends are the kinds of people who are like, oh, I couldn't, like if the other person wants to, I don't know, label something within 6 months, then I get really panicky and that really freaks me out. So if you're that kind of person, that's absolutely 100% fine. If you're not that kind of person, that is also fine. And for example, in my situation, I was not that kind of person. I'm not a casual person. Luckily, neither is my boyfriend, and we had that conversation on the 3rd date. I think it was very clear for both of us why we were there. Yeah, and we had the exclusivity chat and everything almost right away. And so there's nothing wrong with that either. And if the other person's answer, or if you're scared that you won't like the answer or that they won't feel the same way or you will scare them off, then they're probably not for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I would say about dating, specifically about dating, just be clear about your expectations from the beginning, know what you want, and don't be afraid to go after that and to just make that clear from the beginning so that you don't, if you're the kind of person who wants to be in situationships, absolutely fine, you do you. If you don't want to be in situationships, then don't be in situationships, And I mean, I shouldn't even say, like, I've been in those situations as well where things were vague and everything, but that's something I've definitely learned because it's just so nice when you know that the other person is on the same page. It's so nice. And that's setting boundaries as well, I think. And yeah, the same thing kind of goes for friendships as well. If you're, people think of friendships in different ways, and sometimes those ideas or definitions of friendships don't match, and then that's painful sometimes, but then that's also okay. Like, you're 100% allowed to communicate that as well and to say, okay, this is what I'm giving to this relationship, so I kind of expect a similar thing. If that doesn't work for us, then that's
Yeah.
fine,
No,
you
I
know?
100% agree. And for the friendship one, well, and I guess the relationship one, and we kind of touched on this before, but I think it's also, this is a bit of a smaller thing, but I think you should be in friendships where you can comfortably say no. And yeah, the other friend might be a bit like, oh, no, you're canceling on me because you're tired. But in the end, they won't actually be angry at you. They're just a bit annoyed maybe that you cancelled the plan, and that's fine. I hate it when plans get cancelled on me as well. But you should be able to say, you know what? I actually feel really exhausted. I had a very intense week and I really need to chill and look after myself. And you shouldn't have to be making up excuses like, oh, you know what? I actually have a really upset tummy and I broke my ankle and I actually can't come. Like, you should just be able to say, not today.
That's very extreme.
I don't know. I don't know what people say when they don't want to go to places, but there's this whole expectation of you need a proper reason to not come because you just needing to recharge is not a proper reason.
Oh my God, I cannot believe I didn't have that in my notes. Yes, 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 yes. The amount of times I have lied about literally just, yes, making plans the week before, then that day rolls around and you're just like, no, there is nothing I want to do less today than to put my bra back on and go
Exactly.
out. Honestly, yes, we need to normalize just saying that. And of course, it's very different if you have, I don't know, bookings
Yeah, of course.
somewhere or if you're actually doing something together. But it's if it's literally just, going out for a drink, for drinks or food or whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We need, we need to, all I can say is yes. We need to normalize just saying that, just saying, I'm really not feeling like it today. And yes, there is that pressure to have a valid reason, whereas just not feeling like it is a valid
Exactly.
reason. But also, I also think because we feel like we can't be honest about that, then you get situations where people maybe don't communicate that very well, or then they, well, in my case, and this is something that I've done many times, and it's not nice. It's not a nice quality, but I wait too long, or I put that off until the very, very last minute, even though I already kind of know that I don't want to go, and then I don't really know how to say that. Or that it's something I've definitely gotten better at this, but when I was younger specifically, I didn't really know how to communicate that. And because I felt like, yeah, like it wasn't accepted to do that, to say that, or to say, actually, I would rather do this by myself. That, or, and then, yeah, it turned into a situation where I had waited too long, and then that person was annoyed because then they had maybe already made plans for that day or activity or for us to do together or something. Um, so yeah, to avoid that, we should definitely just communicate this from the beginning. Yeah, I agree.
Well, I have one more written down, which is a bit different than the ones we just mentioned, but I think quite an important one. And I think you will agree. But I feel like you need to set boundaries in the sense of, well, in regards to how you talk about yourself. Like, this is now very specific, but I feel like there are a lot of moments where I'm in situations where people talk about their bodies, for example. And then it becomes this battle of, yeah, but my nose, oh, but then my ass, oh, but my belly, oh, and my thighs, and oh, I look so bad in this I look so fat in this outfit. Like, they just talk in a way about themselves, which is, on the one hand, very fat phobic. And on the other hand, it always feels like once everyone has talked, there's like this look towards you, and it's like, now what's wrong with you? But then I feel like
Oh my God, like the scene in Mean
yes,
Girls.
exactly. Yes. And I feel like
She's
it's,
like, I have really bad breath in the morning.
yeah, and that's how I sometimes feel. I mean, of course, I have moments where I'm like, I don't like my head. Like, this is a weird complex, but sometimes I just can't deal with my whole head. Um,
Not the head again.
why do I have to why do I have to, when I have a good day and I'm around people, and then have to start talking about the issues I see within myself? Like, I feel like it's fair enough to then just actually be there and say, well, I don't have a problem. And of course, everyone has a problem. Everyone has something they're unhappy about. On different days, it's different. Like, sometimes I think I'm fucking Beyonce, and sometimes I think I'm a mushroom in the woods. But, does this make sense? Do you know what I mean? I feel like there should be.
It does make sense.
And we talked about this
Yes.
before. When people start saying these things, how are you meant to react to this? Like, yeah, I don't know.
I know, yes, and we will definitely discuss this. And this, I actually did have this in my notes, but then I thought we'll be discussing this at length, I
Yes.
think, very, very soon. But yeah, for me, it's also specifically, for example, about diet
Yeah.
talk, and that I need to set that boundary for myself as well, that I won't engage with that. And I won't engage with that because, and I think many people do engage with that because it's just so expected
Oh, yeah.
to do that. Or if you hear it to react or to, I don't know, praise what somebody's saying
Yeah.
about their own bodies or whatever. And yeah, I know that for myself, for my mental health, I need to not engage with that. And actually, that's actually a good example of a boundary I set but I kind of wanted to mention this, well, in another episode. But anyway, I think it's a good example of a boundary. I recently had to go to the doctors to get a prescription for contraceptives, and so they told me, we need to take your blood pressure and everything, and we need your BMI. The three most hated letters of any fat person, the BMI. Now, we know that BMI is a load of bollocks.
The BSI.
That this is, yeah, exactly. that is ridiculous, but unfortunately, the medical world is still obsessed with the BMI. So they told me, yeah, in order to, recommend the right pill for you and everything, we need to know your weight and everything. So they asked me on the phone. I said I don't know my weight because I haven't weighed myself in years. And so then I went there. I knew that they had to do that. Luckily, I've reached the point where I'm okay with that. I was still a bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie, but 10 years ago that would that would have sent me down a spiral. Even just having that appointment, that would have sent me down a very bad spiral, I think. But anyway, I went, I knew they were going to do that. And I actually told them from the beginning, I was like, yeah, okay, here's the thing. I'm a little bit nervous about this because also, as I'm sure many fat people will agree, and you said this, you put this very well recently, where you're like, you can literally go to the doctors with an axe in your head and people will be like, well, if you lost weight you wouldn't have this issue. So and I think for many fat people that means, people sometimes are just nervous or just don't go to their GP because they don't want to hear fatphobic talk. And so I went there and I immediately just told them, okay, listen, I'm a little bit nervous about this. I know that you need this for your records or whatever, which is a whole conversation in itself, but okay. And I said, I will do it. I will step on the scale, and you can write my BMI down and whatever you want, but I don't want to hear it. I don't want you to tell me. I don't want you to tell me the number on the scale, and I don't want to have a conversation about this, and I don't want to hear anything about this. And they were very nice. They were very, very respectful and everything. But that was something for me that I just felt like I needed to do. And I feel like many people probably, and me a couple of years ago, I never would have done that. I would have felt like I couldn't do that. They're the medical professionals. There was no way that I could say that. But yes, you can 100% say that because it is your own body. It's about you, your body, and your mental health, most of all. So if you feel like that will trigger you or make you feel bad, then just, yeah, you're allowed to set that boundary. And of course, maybe not I was very lucky that the nurse was very nice and she respected it. Probably not everyone is like that in the medical world, unfortunately. But yeah, I think that was a good example of a boundary that I set that I know I never would have done that a couple of years ago. Yeah. So I have some advice on how to set boundaries. Do you have, I know you have something to share as well. So do you want to go first or?
I would say instead of advice, it's really more of a takeaway that I have.
Okay. Yes. Let's hear it.
Okay, so basically, um, to answer the question, can you prioritize yourself without feeling guilty? I think for most people, unfortunately, the answer still is no. It's just something you have to learn and teach yourself and just make yourself important enough to yourself. Because the only person you have to spend the rest of your life with is you. So better keep her happy. Because,
Or him.
or him, of
Or
course.
they.
Of course. Keep the inner you happy. Keep whoever you are happy. And I do think to be happy, you just need to be putting yourself before anyone else. And of course, that is also said from a perspective of a childless person. I think having children shifts everything a little bit with who you're going to prioritize. But
Which is probably the biggest reason why I don't want children.
I mean, honestly, when people ask me when, because that's the thing people do, they don't ask if, they ask when you're gonna have children. I'm like, I don't know, because at this point, I'm just too selfish to have a child. Yeah, I guess that would be my takeaway and my advice. Like I said, you only have to live with yourself. So make yourself happy. Look out for yourself. Water the plant.
Yes. Okay. And I think that's a great segue into my bit because I have some advice on how you can learn how to set boundaries. I think the number one thing is that you need to keep in mind is why you're setting these boundaries and why they are important to you. For example, like I said about the me time thing and the needing to recharge on my own, I know that if I don't do that and I know that if I neglect those boundaries that I will get overstimulated. I will eventually, probably start behaving in a way that is not good for those relationships with the people around me either. So it's really important that I express these. So I think about why these things are important to you. I think is a good one, and just keep that in mind when you feel like, oh, am I being selfish? Am I being weird? Just think about the why. Why do these things mean something to you? Why do you want people to respect those? Then the second one is trust your gut and be unapologetic. If you don't feel comfortable with something, you don't feel comfortable. If you don't want to do something, you don't want to do something. That is absolutely okay. You don't need to have a, quote unquote valid reason or something. You don't need any of that. So, also try and set those boundaries as early on as possible, especially with, new friendships, new relationships, work, whatever. Don't create this habit of them knowing that if they ask you twice or three times that you will say yes eventually. So just communicate those things from the beginning, set those boundaries early on, and yeah, make it clear that you're not messing around when it comes to your boundaries and your self-care. And then also, related to that as well, communicate when these boundaries have been crossed, because that's how other people can learn as well, and how you can improve your relationships with other people. I think if you don't communicate this, and maybe like we said in the beginning, maybe for other people those things are not a big deal and they don't even think about them. So communicate and have that conversation so these people also know what happened and how that made you feel. So you can hopefully both learn from it. And then, of course, also, lastly, respect other people's boundaries. Even if they're not boundaries for you, then, or if even if you think there's nothing wrong with it, then maybe other people other people might feel differently. So yeah, just have those conversations. Just be open and honest about them, I would say.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah,
That's really good advice.
I think that's it. Thank you. Good. Okay. My God. I just want to say, I cannot believe that we have recorded 4 episodes.
I know, we're doing well.
We are doing well. We're actually doing this. My God.
Yeah.
And if you hear this, then they've actually made it online as well, which is even more wild.
Oh. Should we? Well, I guess we've said everything we had to say about boundaries and self care for this episode. Should we move on to our little recommendation section of the podcast?
Yes.
Do you have any books or a book you would say would go with this topic?
Yes. I actually have two, but they're by the same author. So the author's called Michelle Elman. She's on Instagram as well, and she does these really short, like, reels where she also reacts to people. For example, if people share, like, coupley reels where they actually kind of glamorize something that is in essence like toxic behavior, then she kind of responds to them and kind of explains why that's not the way to go. And I'm trying to think of, an example. Maybe maybe it will come to me in a bit. But she has two books that I think are actually perfect for this topic. The first one, well, she has several books, but there's two titles I'm mainly thinking of. The first one is The Joy of Being Selfish. So,
Oh, I almost ordered that one.
yeah. So, yeah, the subtitle, like, or the tagline is literally why you need boundaries and how to set them. So that's perfect. And then the other one is specifically about dating, The Selfish Romantic, which I have here on my to read soon pile. But yeah, it's about how you can date and set those boundaries and not feel bad about yourself, and how that will definitely improve the relationships that you have with people.
Love that. They sound good. I actually might write them down on my list because they do sound really good.
Yeah. Do you have anything?
I do have one movie that came to mind. It's not a new movie. We're going back into the noughties, and it's probably coming as a surprise because, well, let me just get out there. I was thinking of Legally Blonde because
Oh, I'm very interested to hear
well, it's
how this is going.
I had to think about it for a while. So this movie immediately came to mind, but I was like, why am I thinking about this movie? It has literally nothing to do with this. But then, actually, first of all, Elle Woods just goes for whatever she wants. She does not give a shit. She knows what she wants. She goes for it. People are coming at her. The teachers, like, she has to set boundaries with every professor in a way, especially with that little perv who comes for her during her internship. And then also Jennifer Coolidge is in there, and she's going through some
Icon,
shit.
queen.
She is a queen, a little dolphin queen. She is going through some shit with her ex-husband, and Elle helps her get the dog back, and just gain some respect again with him, which you also could say is as setting some boundaries. And I know I'm reaching out far here to get a movie, but I do think in some way everyone should be a bit more like Elle Woods, because
Definitely.
she knows who she is.
Yes.
And no one can take her down.
No, she's unapologetic, like we
Exactly.
said. Now I really want to rewatch that film. It's been forever.
I know. I used to watch it back at uni whenever I knew, okay, I need to study a lot, because there's this montage where she really gets into the books, and like there's this scene where she's on the treadmill with the book, and I don't know, it's just it always motivated me to get back into a few study, like, night shifts.
Oh, okay. I love how that motivated you to study.
It kind of helped because, I don't know, she was so ambitious. I was like, okay, I can do that too.
For me, the thing that noughties films did was make me want to smoke.
I mean, yeah,
It motivated me in the worst possible way.
Oh my god, it was like, and I guess we could name this as something where no boundaries are set. Sex and the City. Whenever I watch that, I was smoking back then most of the time when I was watching it, and I just wanted to smoke so badly, and I did smoke a lot whenever I rewatched the whole series.
So bad.
Yeah, but honestly,
But yes.
the women in that series, they don't have boundaries. Well, maybe Samantha and Miranda, but not Carrie. Not with Mr. Big.
No, he's horrible.
Yeah.
Was horrible. R.I.P.
Oh God. Wow.
Okay. We did it. We recorded another one.
Did it again. Cool.
Yeah.
But again, before we wrap up, we wanted to say a big thank you to all of you who made it to the end of the 4th episode. We really hope you enjoyed it and maybe even heard something you could relate to. And also do remember, the journey does not end here. We will be back next week with a brand new episode in the self-care, self-love section. Well, in the self-love, self-care theme. It will be a bit of a different one. Stay tuned. That was so weird.
I'm mysterious. Keep your eyes. No, ignore
Keep your
me.
eyes peeled.
Peeled, yes. But the best part is we want to hear from you. As always, we know that each of you has your own unique experiences and you have stories to share. We know it. We know you do. So don't be shy. Connect with us on Instagram at We Are Millennial Musings and share your own musings, funny moments, or even the not so glorious times of being a millennial. And any other generation. Honestly, everyone's welcome.
Absolutely.
Come on, come say hi.
Don't be shy.
See you there and see you in the next episode.
Stay curious and keep those stories coming. Bye.
Bye.